Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watched a movie.
Yeah, a few.
We watched a few movies, that's right. So I proposed to Sean a couple of weeks ago now that we should rewatch the 90s Batman series. What? You're laughing already at me.
I am. See. Yeah, you know my reaction.
What?
Well, I said we shouldn't even bother with number 3 and 4 because they're garbage.
Because they're garbage, yes. And the first one is not even in the 90s. It was released in 89. So that would not have left a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like I must have seen these movies, but like I was too small to have seen them at the time. So it's weird to think like, how did I see them?
Yeah.
And then it seems fairly clear that maybe I didn't see all of them. And
I would be surprised if you saw all of them.
Didn't need to.
No, you didn't need to.
Mm-hmm. So today we'll start with the first one. I think we have enough to say about the first one. Batman, just Batman.
Batman 1989.
Batman.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's Batman. Is this the best in the franchise?
This is the best there was.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fine.
To me, it's not even close.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Michael Keaton stars as Batman.
He does. And I think he does a good job.
Okay.
It's all relative. I think if you compare Batman to any superhero movie that's come in the last 10 years, it doesn't hold up.
Ooh.
It's just not as adult, I would say.
Okay. And yet, these certainly were billed that way.
They were at the time.
And they were definitely, like, there had been rumors that, like, Ivan Reitman maybe wanted to get a funny Batman movie going. And this one was always decidedly unfunny, ungoofy. Yep. Tim Burton was like, no, I'm going dark on this. He feels like this was him going dark.
And this may be Tim Burton going dark.
Okay.
It's still
Fair
not
enough.
dark.
Fair enough. Steven Seagal was considered to play Batman.
Oh, that would have been a mistake.
Sylvester Stallone says this was the death of action movies, the kind where muscle-bound guys got to star in them, and now he called them Velcro muscles. Good substitute.
There's something to that, because Michael Keaton was not... No. I mean, I don't think he worked out for this role.
No. I mean, you didn't have to get in shape for this.
Are basically nothing. Like, sometimes Batman will kick, and then a guy will fall down.
Although, he had, like, something like 9 different stunt doubles, including a dancer, for just the scene where he, like, flaps his cape down, and Michael Keaton wasn't even adept enough to do that.
Well, that's funny.
Yes.
So Michael Keaton really just plays Bruce Wayne in this movie, essentially.
Okay. Fair. But you liked him.
I liked him.
Or
I thought he was
all
good.
Relative, you liked him.
No, I thought he was a good Bruce Wayne / Batman.
Better than Steven Seagal.
Way better than Steven Seagal.
I mean,
question.
That's,
Yeah.
So, Vicki Vale is the love interest in this movie. I mean, I kind of knew that Kim Basinger was going to pop up somewhere along the line, but I don't know Vicki Vale.
Yeah, Vicki Vale is a love interest from the comics.
Okay.
So it's pretty true to what Vicki Vale was in the comics, Batman. She is a photographer.
Okay.
And so she is...
Although I heard a redhead.
Maybe. That could be, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
So, other than that, she is a photographer who gets swept up in the Batman mythos and ends up being a love interest to both Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, controversially, and it's funny because we think so much of, like, you know, people who are crazy fans and who want to boo a movie before it comes out and stuff. But there were controversies even back in 1989. And I know Vicki Vale being in the Batmobile and in the Batcave, that Alfred never would have let her in that Batcave.
I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Alfred had a much tighter hold on the Batcave in the comics than he does in the movies. In the movies, it does seem like everyone gets to the Batcave. It's not a well-kept secret at all.
No, it's surprisingly not. People do just, like, accidentally fall in there somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you liked her.
I did. I thought she's the best love interest of the series, which maybe isn't saying a whole lot.
Okay. I was wondering, like, is Michael Keaton the Christian Bale of the 80s? Was he the Ben Affleck of the 80s? Was he the Robert Pattinson of the 80s?
I guess he's closer to the Christian Bale.
Okay.
I don't know that any of them are great comparisons.
Okay.
Because he was kind of all over the place in what he did.
Yes, he was.
And that's, I guess, still to this day, he is.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. It's funny because he describes himself as a logic freak. And so he had some trouble with the idea of Batman because of the logic holds, and one of them being he really felt like people would have guessed his true identity.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious.
That well hidden, and he was pushing for like colored contacts or something, and there wasn't a lot of give, so that's when he decided to lower his voice when he was in the suit, which many other actors
come to this day.
Suit.
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah.
Even though clearly that could not be conveyed in the comics.
Nope.
That's something he just decided, this is how I'm going to help him disguise himself a little more, because maybe this cowl is not as effective as a disguise as he thinks.
It's not. I mean, DC Comics in general has a real problem with that, of these secret identities. Like, Superman just puts on some glasses and suddenly he's unrecognizable. I don't know how that is.
No, I know, glasses or no glasses. I'm pretty sure
of it's me.
Who's in my bed. Yeah. Okay. So, there's a lot to say in this movie. There were a lot of things that were great. There were a lot of things that were weird. Sometimes the script felt a little hokey.
Oh, absolutely.
I know I laughed in particular when somebody said, "shoot to kill," if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if you know what I mean means. Because it usually means that you weren't graphically explicit.
Right. Some kind of innuendo.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you really just said shoot to kill, which is, I think, as
straightforward as it gets.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I did love the lines like that. They stand out, maybe because they're bad, but it does add to sort of almost the enjoyment of the film, because you're just in this Tim Burton universe, which in my experience is a great thing. I love Tim Burton. He really does great world building.
He does. Well, and the world he builds in Batman carries over through the 4 Batman movies.
Yeah.
There's really, I mean, Joel Schumacher does it worse, but he's taking the same sort of inspiration.
Okay. So, Tim Burton said he really liked the experience of having people like Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson who were good at improv. They both had sort of comedy in their backgrounds.
Yep.
So Jack Nicholson said he loved how free the character is, because once you take somebody outside the laws of common society, he's untethered.
Yep.
So you can get away with a lot once you're...
Yeah, I think that's memorable about Jack Nicholson's Joker, is he's having a lot of fun.
Yes.
He's having a lot of fun.
He's deranged, but in a, he's got pizzazz.
I like that, and I think that's really, it still is this standout to me of this movie, is the Jack Nicholson role.
Okay.
And it's really neat how both his role and Heath Ledger's take on the Joker in The Dark Knight can coexist, and they're just so different.
And Joaquin.
Yep. They're
Again,
all different, and yet
but
they all
wrong.
work. No, they are. Those all reflect a point in time in the comics. So Jack Nicholson's taking inspiration from the older era, where Joker and everything was not as dark. It was something where he's going to kill people, but it's not going to be gruesome. And he's not going to torture people.
He's going to use like a magician's flower to shoot poison in
acid,
your face.
and then they'll just fade away. Yeah.
Okay. So, aside from Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton also had a comedy background, and he added things to the script, such as his date night with Vicki Vale, when they're sitting at the long
table,
long dining table in a room he's not sure he's ever been in before. And so they're on opposite sides, which I feel like is such a trope in movies. We see that so often. And almost always it's a pass the salt.
Yes, and
you know, and it's like,
get up and,
you know, a commute to bring the salt to the other side. So what does that reveal to us about Bruce Wayne? Because you did say, like, Michael Keaton almost is Bruce Wayne more than Batman.
Yeah.
You know, he is hidden under a rubber suit when he's Batman. He is in a cowl so thick that he couldn't move his head, which he gave birth to something known as the superhero turn. Because when Joker was talking to him from the helicopter, he's not able to look up because the cowl is so stiff. He can't tilt his head up. So he has to turn his whole body in order to make... Funny. So that has become its own thing.
Yeah.
Also, when he's wearing it, he can't hear. That thing is like watertight.
Oh,
so
man.
he becomes deaf on set when he's wearing that thing.
That's crazy.
Yes. And he was claustrophobic. But he still allowed the suit because he felt it helped him become very, like, interior. Like, he can't hear, he's suffering a little bit in the suit, and he felt that brought something to the character.
Well.
But he's not having fun in there, guys.
Well, good job.
Mm-hmm. So I just kind of feel like Bruce Wayne is less a playboy in this movie. We just don't see him that often.
We don't see it, no.
Carousing, spending lavishly, or dating 3 women at once.
Right.
So is that a different Bruce Wayne, or were they just not focusing on it?
I think they're just not focused on him.
Okay.
I think this is more a Batman than a Bruce Wayne adventure.
Okay, fair enough. Another scene that I really felt we needed to talk about, because I had I don't know if it's trouble, but I was really stuck on a few things. And one was, after the Joker has met his fate in the vat of acid, that somehow did not kill him.
Right. It never does in comics. If you fall into a thing of goo, you're going to turn into something with superpowers.
Yeah, yes. It does. Nobody dies, they just mutate.
Yeah.
So some sort of surgeon has been brought in to help him, and the doctor rather awkwardly apologizes for the hatchet job on your face. And then the camera pans very quickly to, because he uses his rudimentary tools as an excuse, like, I had very limited tools. And then the camera pans at it very quickly, and it looks like just like a dentist's silver tray with like a corkscrew, broken glass, and like things that look like torture devices from bygone era of dentistry. And I just thought, first of all, but why was he limited to these tools?
That's a good question.
He couldn't have grabbed his doctor's black bag? Like, even Doc McStuffins has better tools than you do. We have a better tools than this. Any Shoppers Drug Mart.
Like first aid kit,
Yes. Why? Why were these the only tools you had at your disposal, and you used them? Because I also wonder if nothing would have been better than broken glass and a corkscrew.
Probably. Yeah, he might have not turned out the way he did if he just went to a different doctor. A qualified surgeon.
He needed a better HMO. So I did learn that it is the same set, the same prop that was used on the Little Shop of Horrors set. So when you see dentist Steve Martin operating on Bill Murray, it is with those same limited tools. And fun fact, Jack Nicholson starred in the original version of that movie.
That is a funny connection.
Yeah.
Maybe he turned them on to the...
Yeah, you know what would be good here? Well, it's not good, a hatchet job, but a convincing hatchet job, let's just say.
It does explain why he maybe doesn't look so good.
Yeah. So, I can't remember the name, the crime guy Jack Palance plays. Grissom or something?
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
So he, there are very few people in the world that you can cast as Jack Nicholson's boss. Like, somebody who can actually,
that's true.
You credibly believe that he could have the reins on Jack Nicholson. Not only is he, originally... Jack Napier is his, right-hand guy.
Yep.
And they are both after the same woman.
Yes, they are.
Who I was very surprised this time to recognize as Jerry Hall. I had no idea if I'd ever known this before. Yes, the wonderful Jerry Hall, who is married to Mick Jagger, has 4 kids with him, and is now married to Rupert Murdoch. So, I suppose if anyone is going to play... the contested wife or not even wife, mistress, girlfriend, whatever, referred to as sugar bumps in the movie, which I just feel we need to bring that back. Sugar bumps. So anyways, in the movie, it is discovered that they are both sleeping with the same woman. And so that's why Jack Palance sets up Jack Nicholson or Jack Napier to he calls the cops on him.
That's right.
Which leads to the altercation with Batman, which leads to him falling in the vat of acid. So he set him up over sugar bumps, which I felt like was a super extreme and sexist response to, to go from we're sleeping with the same woman, I'll just, I'm cool with murder.
Yeah.
Which then Jack Nicholson reappears as the Joker and does worse right back to him.
Absolutely.
Which leads to another great scene that I loved, was in Death, the way he falls on his desk, because Grayson is wearing a bathrobe and slippers at home when he is killed. And so he's dead, sprawled on his desk. He's got his legs up on the desk, and I was like, wow, he's showing some serious leg. He's showing a lot of leg in Death, and even some toe cleave.
Oh boy.
Toe cleavage, yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, you don't see a lot of male toe cleavage.
No, that's true.
But his slipper was just dangling sexily off his foot there.
Okay.
So, okay. I'm into it. Although you did wonder if the Joker had shot his pants off.
Oh, yeah.
You were like, why does he not have pants on? But I think it's because he was just wearing a robe. So,
okay.
Perhaps this is why that scene is shot from behind his desk chair, so we don't see if anything else was dangling. But it's real possible. One thing I started noticing upon repetition is that Vicki Vale is often wearing a white dress. A white dress. And of course, against Batman, who's always in black, is very interesting to have them together. And it is interesting that he is the Dark Knight, he is in black, because traditionally that is what not heroes wear, villains wear.
It's true, Batman wasn't in black in the comics.
Yeah. So it is, I think, Batman lately, we are embracing that it's not just the Joker who's a disturbed guy. Batman is a disturbed guy too. They have slightly different takes on things. One believes he's doing good, the other believes he's having fun. But they're both acting recklessly and outside of the law.
Yes, they are.
And of course, the great suits worn by the Joker in this film, often purple.
Yep.
Which I guess is that his true...
Purple and green are typically his main colors.
Yes. Well, I loved everything he was wearing in this movie. Even Jack Napier is we see him in a purple suit.
Yep.
Even before he becomes the Joker. I think he was wearing it even in that warehouse scene, although he's got a big black coat over it, so you just see the glimpses of the purple, so it's kind of foreshadowing what's to come. Although I don't think that was a big secret. I think people knew he was cast as the Joker. Probably. Absolutely. The trailers would have spoiled that.
Yes.
So I was also very surprised to spot Billy D. Williams in the cast.
Yeah.
He is playing Harvey Dent. Now, also probably I wouldn't have known who that was because I didn't watch Star Wars till last year, so he wasn't as familiar to me. He is Harvey Dent in this movie. Yeah,
he is, and that's a real disappointment to me that he didn't carry on to be Harvey Dent.
Yes, well, it's a disappointment to a lot of people. And when he signed the contract for the first movie, it was with the understanding that he would be Two-Face in the next one.
Yeah, because why else would he be in such a small role?
Exactly. Although, maybe we should be glad that it didn't happen because Tim Burton wanted him because he thought he could do, for Two-Face, a black and white thing.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, so he did have it in his contract, like I said, then the studio liked Tommy Lee Jones better, so they had to buy him out. So he got a substantial payday for not playing Two-Face.
It's probably better for him.
Well, certainly if that was the direction it was going in, yes.
Well, even comparing to Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, not good.
Not really, no. But he did get to finally play that role in the Lego Batman movie.
Oh,
he got to voice.
That's awesome.
Yes, so good for them. So I really liked Jack Nicholson in this.
He's
awesome.
Is that
allowed? Okay.
Yeah, that's an iconic role.
I love even like before he's the Joker, you can see he's already a guy on the edge who's struggling with things. He's got like this little eye twitchy thing going on a lot of the time, which I was like, okay, like this guy's putting in an effort that I didn't know I could expect from this movie.
Yep.
He almost didn't take the part. He was hesitating. And so the studio offered it to Robin Williams, who accepted. And then they went back to Nicholson and said, well, Robin Williams says he'll do it. And Jack Nicholson said, fine, I'll take it. That was like... So actually, Robin Williams was really mad about being used as bait.
Sure.
He refused to work with Warner Brothers, the studio, again until they apologized. And this is not the first time I've heard Robin Williams being pissed off at studio. So he was a good guy and a funny guy, but he could hold his grudges.
Well, don't blame him for that.
Yes. So they did offer him the Riddler, but it was a no-go.
I mean, that would have been a much better Riddler. But still, he's probably better for not having done it, because it's going to be a bad movie either way.
Yeah. Okay, so... Jack Nicholson had he got top billing in this movie over Michael Keaton, which makes sense.
I think it's deserved, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he was a bigger name at the time, and it is a substantial role, and I think, to date, the only Batman movie that only has one villain.
I think so.
It's also still the record holder for the biggest single movie salary of an actor.
Oh.
So today we talk about actors joining the 20 million club. That is a milestone. If you can command 20 million per movie, that's a lot of money. Because he agreed, because they didn't have a big budget for him, he agreed to take a percentage of the profits of the box office.
Good for him.
So he walked away with $60 million for that one movie.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big movie. That was the movie of the summer that year, for sure.
It for sure was. It was #1 of the year domestically and #2 internationally, second only to...
I have no idea.
Indiana, The Last Crusade.
Oh, The Last Crusade, yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, sorry.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a big movie. Tim Burton wasn't super happy with it. He called it boring. He said it was more of a cultural phenomenon than a good movie.
Yeah.
And he was kind of told by the studio that Prince was going to work on songs and he didn't like how they used them. But I think actually, as time has passed and production was fraught. He was a newish director at the time. He hadn't done a lot of big stuff. He had a hard time reining in Jack Palance, who had many movies under his belt by that time, and didn't take a lot of direction from Tim Burton. So I think it soured him a little on the experience. And so with time, he has thought more kindly towards the movie, but it has taken some time.
Okay.
Does that surprise you to hear?
It does.
Okay.
It does. I figured he would have been happy with it, because it does seem like he got to do mostly what he wanted. It is very close to a lot of Tim Burton movies.
It does feel Tim Burton-y. It does.
So, yeah, I'm surprised that he wasn't happy with the finished product.
And what would he have done differently? Definitely, obviously, he and Keaton have teamed up since, and quite successfully. Keaton is credited with ad-libbing perhaps the most famous line of the movie, "I'm Batman," which it does kind of feel like,
how is that not in the script?
How did somebody not write that? Like, that's like, seems like the easiest thing and the most obvious thing, but the line was, "I am the Knight."
Oh.
And Michael Keaton took that in a different direction, and...
Good for him.
Yeah.
It was the right choice.
It's like an iconic line.
It is.
Even though it's barely a line,
Yeah.
but we do really marry that line with that character in that movie.
And it's come back.
Yes, exactly. A lot of his choices have.
Yeah.
So whatever you think about these early movies, Michael Keaton, whether you think he's a great Batman or Bruce Wayne or whatever, obviously he set some major precedents for this role.
He did, and it's interesting you talk about the not being able to move his head. I mean, that's a plot point in the Chris Nolan movies.
Yes, that's right. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll talk about the Batmobile in this movie. We are later going to do an episode devoted entirely to all of the Batmobiles in movies, and Sean is going to rank them.
All right.
So I think you should challenge him down below in the comments and let us know what you think the best Batmobile is.
Yeah, to me it's hands down. I know which one it is.
I know you do. Don't spoil it already. Don't. Thank you, Sean. This Batmobile was built on the chassis of a Chevy Impala.
That's funny.
It is really weird. It has the tail lights of a Ferrari.
Okay.
And the headlights of a Honda Civic.
All right.
The fuel caps of a London bus. Yeah. And it has quite a few parts from the Harriet jump jet.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Harrier.
Sorry, yes. You are. I said Harriet. You are right. So this thing is massive. It had like an 8-foot span between wheels, like 20 feet long.
Yeah.
And when they showed Burton like a mock-up of it, he said, "But where's the door?"
Oh.
There was no door on this thing, which is when they stole a little bit more from the Harrier and did the sliding cockpit
Sliding
door.
cockpit is cool.
Yes, but they forgot to account for the extra 4 inches that the
horns.
cowl horns.
Are they not horns?
Well, I don't think they're horns. They're ears.
Okay.
So it gives Keaton an extra 4 inches. So they actually had to build a modified cowl with littler ears to sit in the Batmobile. So,
that's funny.
Yeah. Whoops. They spent a lot of money making this thing, and to
The
just
little
forget
details.
about, exactly. It's just a lot of fun. So, we talked about Kim Basinger in the role of Vicki Vale. You thought she did a pretty good job as Vicki Vale.
I thought she's good as a love interest, yeah.
Okay. She was the first choice, but she couldn't do it. She was kind of hesitating on the part, and then by the time it was time to decide, she was busy. So they cast Sean Young.
Oh, okay.
But Sean Young was training for the movie and learning to ride a horse, and she fell off and broke her collarbone.
Oh.
So Kim Basinger replaced her.
And they got rid of the horse scene, I guess, out of an abundance of caution.
They couldn't afford,
yeah.
But Michelle Pfeiffer, the studio was asking Michelle Pfeiffer to read for the part. And Michael Keaton said no because they were dating at the time. And he thought it would be too awkward on set. So, guess what happened?
They broke up.
And she came back the next movie.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting. Jack Nicholson, of course, had to sit in a chair and get his makeup done as the Joker for like a couple of hours every day. And they had to use a special silicone because he's allergic to spirit gum, which would have been, at the time, their first choice. So he's a late start kind of guy, at least he was in the 80s when he was still partying and stuff. So he would roll in many hours after everyone else and then fall asleep in the chair as they started applying the prosthetics. And then the production crew would play him taped basketball games from the night before. So we know he is a big basketball game.
Huge Lakers fan.
But I guess one day there had been no game.
Oh.
No game.
So that's a long time in the chair.
Yeah, well, guess what he had to watch instead?
Gone with the Wind?
Darts.
Darts.
He had to watch a dart game, yeah. So the next day on set, he did say to Michael Keaton, "How about that dart game?" And they both lost it. Like, it was almost a written off day because they couldn't even look at each other after that. It was just all about the darts. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mel Gibson at what point was attached to play Batman.
Ugh.
But he was committed to Lethal Weapon 2. Oh,
thankfully.
God.
Yeah.
So then they thought he might do Two-Face in the next movie. But he was making Braveheart. So that is how we avoided having Mel Gibson in this movie. These movies. This franchise. Funnily, Tim Burton has said he had never even heard the word franchise before he made Batman. And now, like, everything is a franchise, right?
Yeah, it's a different era for sure.
Oh, I loved hearing this. You know, there's a scene when Vicki Vale is at work, and they're looking at a map, and they're trying to figure out all these Batman sightings.
Yep.
You know, what do they have in common? It's Gotham City, but actually it's a map of Vancouver.
Oh,
yeah.
That's funny.
That is funny. If you're from Vancouver, you probably already knew that.
But that's funny.
Yes, it is a weird and random thing. In early drafts of the script, there was a Robin in this movie.
Oh.
There was a Dick Grayson in this movie. And they wanted 19-year-old Kiefer Sutherland for the role.
Ooh.
Yes. But that role just kept diminishing and kept diminishing until it was completely written out. But not before a future Batman himself would audition for the role. Ben Affleck went in to play a little Dick Grayson.
Oh, that would have been weird.
It would have been super weird and kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
But they ended up leaving Robin for later.
Which was the right move. There's not room for him in this movie.
Okay. Well, Kiefer Sutherland didn't really like the idea because he just had the, like, you know, the yellow tights and, like, the terrible comic book outfit. And he was like, I don't know about that. So, yeah, maybe it's for the best.
I think so. It's hard to work Robin into this version of
it is. It already
Dark Knight.
Yeah, that's right. And one thing I really liked, and I wish I could find this on eBay, but Jack Nicholson is pretty generous with fans, and when people would visit the set, he would take one of his gloves off and sign it and give the Joker gloves as a souvenir. Which is a great thing if you were a fan. Not a great thing if you're Bob Ringwood, costume designer.
No.
Because he ended up making hundreds of extra gloves. He's hand-making these, poor guy. And, like, he had to sit him down and be like, please don't do this anymore. And Jack Nicholson was like, all right. But he did keep doing it because he wasn't making them, I guess. And, I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing to be.
It is. That's
so just maybe
souvenir.
note to future costume designers, just buy a bunch of gloves in bulk and those can be the signable ones. So on the whole, do you like this movie?
I like the first one.
Okay.
I do. I think this is a classic superhero movie.
Yes, it is. And it's hard not to give it props for
as you've
starting
really
a whole thing.
You've really highlighted the ways that this does set the stage for the movies that come after it, especially Batman's.
Yes.
But not just, because this is the movie that shows a comic book movie can be a major hit.
Yes.
And I think at that point, all the other studios are looking for the next one.
Yes. And I think it changed the face of action movies, so Stallone might have been somewhat right in that.
Yeah, I think he is.
Where, you know, back in the day, you had to work out and look the part, and now action movies became less about your physical muscles, but more about the production values, and, like, really putting a lot of money into those. And this is even really before a lot of CG was used, but...
Yeah. That is, I think, a good comment by Stallone. It's a good observation. That's 100% true.
It's a little bitter, I think.
Well, for sure, because he's one of those old guys that gets left behind with Schwarzenegger and Seagal. Those guys don't work in the new breed of action movies.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about Schwarzenegger in just a couple episodes.
I suppose we are.
Yes. All right, is that the final word? Batman 1989.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Thumbs up. A little late to the party, just like 30-something years.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's still a classic, guys.
It's still a classic.
It is a classic.
It is.
It deserves to be a classic, I think.
Yeah, it does.
There's nothing like it.
No, there's not, for better and worse.
Yes, I mean...
This movie couldn't get made today, because it is so...
It's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yes.
But it works.
It does. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Do let us know about the Batmobile down in the comments. Bye, everyone.
Bye.